Good morning, baseball fans, and welcome back to Dan's Vintage Baseball PC. Do not ever be fooled by that fancy name. It's just me and some friends talking about baseball cards. Friend today is, I guess, a YouTube celebrity, kind of a influencer, that kind of thing, because he's got like a million and a half followers or something like that, and every word he says is taken down as gospel. So just wanted to make sure that you guys understood how important this guest is. Anyway, all kidding aside, this is my friend Mike from Mike Junkwax Hero. Let me bring him on, and we're going to talk about 2025.
$1.5 million. I mean,
Is
you
that
shortchanged me. I'm almost at
a
2
little more
million
than
by
that
now.
now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So the genesis for this show was me waking up one morning and seeing, I guess it was Monday, right?
yeah.
This Monday past, um, seeing your newsletter where you talk about a whole bunch of things that are going to be relevant in 2025. And I texted you and I said, "Hey, that's a heck of a newsletter. Nice work." And I was like, "Oh, wow, that sounds like a show." So there you go.
We should do that.
So I think that now I pointed out the newsletter once, and we agreed that it's going to be what, 5 times that I have to point it out.
19 times.
19. I'm stealing the joke from Fort
You and
Collector.
Theo, yeah.
Anyway, so yes, Mike has a newsletter. I will link to it down below after I put this video up. If I do, I don't know. We'll see how it works out. So what I did is I wrote down the things that you talked about. Oh, there we go. The things that you had talked about. Put together a list of things that I thought were pretty important to talk about for 2025. And then later on, we got a special thing where we're going to do a little rocket lightning round. So
rocket lightning, nice.
Yes, not just lightning, rocket lightning.
So. I love it.
So let's get going. Let's see. You talked about, and I broke it down into 2 different categories. You talked about things that would affect collectors, and then things that would affect like the companies in the hobby. And of course, the first thing you talked about was newsletters. So tell us about your experience with having a newsletter and why you think newsletters might be something that gets picked up by more people.
Yeah, so I subscribed to my first newsletter back in 2008 or 9, and it's called Now I Know by Dan Lewis, who's a big Mets fan, and he's very active on Twitter. He used to be, I don't know if he still is. And I still read it every single day, 15, 16 years later. And I've always loved the format. And I started my own newsletter in 2012-ish that was I really enjoyed, but it kind of fizzled after a while. It wasn't something that I was passionate about. And then once I got into the sports card space and I started thinking more about newsletters again, and I'm subscribed to a bunch of newsletters. I read them every day. I love them. I started thinking, there's a lot of things I would love to cover, and I have to pass on them because I don't have time on my YouTube channel. Why don't I just do a newsletter where I do quick hit newsletter things of things that I find interesting? So I started that up a year ago. It was January 24th, I think, was my first one. And it's been awesome. It's just such a fun, and it's well received. I have almost 1,300 subscribers. And this is pretty niche too. And I've seen other ones pop up, like Sue's, famous in the industry, did the first one I was subscribed to was this amazing story. I don't remember what the story was, but I remember emailing her saying, "This is amazing." But she hasn't done one since then, I don't think. And there aren't a whole lot of like collector focused or news, hobby news focused things. There's like Arena Club just came out with one last week, and it just talks about Arena Club stuff, and I'm not interested in that. If they want to talk about, and I'm not criticizing Arena Club, that's their thing, but I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and you're going to see like Sports Cards HQ come out with one, for instance, where they talk about, I don't know what Sports Cards HQ talks about, but there's a sports card nonsense one that I skim through every week. They leave the first letter of every article out for some reason. I don't understand it, but yeah, there's a lot of newsletters that are coming out.
So the Sue's one, yes, I agree with you, was excellent. I like her content. She's intelligent. She's experienced, and I guess a unique person in a way because she's like a woman who's involved in the hobby,
Yep.
which there should be more of. But yeah, it's odd because her newsletter was good, and it doesn't. I don't know when the last one was. It's been a while.
Well, she's writing a lot for SI
Yeah.
collect SI collectibles. Yeah.
And John Mangini had a newsletter for a little while.
He did. Very good newsletter. I loved
Yeah.
Mangini's newsletter.
In fact, there was like important vintage information in there, and John, he does videos almost every day, but he hasn't done a newsletter in quite a while. So, if John, if you're watching, and I hope that he is, we'd like to see the newsletter back again. So,
yep.
So the next topic you talked about was what I called super channels, which we just talked about. I made a joke about for collectors, which I have participated in, as you know, as a host or a guest host of the Sunday Night Live, which has been a blast. And for collectors is kind of, I guess, the model is bench clear, and for collectors is sort of moving into that area.
Take it to the next level, though. And by the way, for collectors is where I opened the Eddie Lewis Taint card, which is now has a permanent spot. Maybe not permanent, but spot on my collection behind me. Take it to the next level. Let's say you have Chunk Wax Hero, you have Dan's Vintage Baseball PC, you have Mangini, you have Adam Splendid Sports Cards, and they all are under one network that shares marketing, that shares whatever all the overhead is for a channel, and they promote each other and they do revenue sharing. I don't know. It's not something I'm considering doing. I don't have the time to do something like that.
Yeah.
But I definitely see something like that happening, like Trike and Card Collector 2, and those big guys. I can definitely see some sort of a behemoth eating them up and saying, okay, we now own you, and you need to put out content. I don't know.
There's one other, I can't remember the name of it because they mostly are modern guys, but it's Scotty and Teapot and two other guys do a channel where they just sort of do like a roundtable discussion. I can't remember the name of it, but that kind of has the beginning of that feel to
it. Scotty B?
Yeah.
I haven't seen him do any roundtables with other people.
Oh, well, I'll send you a link because I just watched it the other day, although maybe it might have been a few months old. So and I've talked to John 3D80's kid about this, and the concept I think with for collectors, I don't know if I'm giving away any trade secrets here, is that's an umbrella thing is sort of thought of possibly in the future, but we'll see what happens with that. But those guys put in a ton of work.
Yep.
And the reason that I've actually done, I think it's 6 or 7 times now the Sunday night, is because they have life stuff. Somebody has an engagement or has to go to a wedding, so they get stuck with me on the channel. So
those guys should really reconsider their priorities.
No, but what I'm saying is, what your point is that like you don't have the time for this, and so it becomes a situation where somebody's going to do that. In Bench Clear also. I mean, Bench Clear, when I first started tuning in, there was a weekly Mike and Ty chat, which doesn't seem to exist anymore. I haven't seen Mike on the channel in quite a long time.
Life stuff.
Yeah. Life stuff, exactly. All right, so the next one you talked about was ESPN. Will ESPN have a card show in 2025?
Well, there's a natural synergy between cards and gambling, and they have branched out heavily into gambling.
Yep.
And I definitely see them starting a card show. And then somebody said that the whole goal for Jeff Wilson is to get on his own ESPN show, which makes perfect sense. And he'd probably be good at it.
Yeah, I don't think so, actually.
From an ESPN perspective, he's safe. He's
yeah.
vanilla.
I think it might happen, but I think it would be more like a Darren Ravel kind of thing. A guy with a little more personality and ability to kind of mix things up a little bit.
Darren
Which is
Ravel
what
has
ESPN likes.
personality.
What?
Darren Ravel has personality.
Yeah, I think he does. Certainly more
Huh.
than Jeff.
Interesting. I
um,
like Darren Ravel more in some ways. So, but yeah, you're right. And he has a past relationship with ESPN because he was on the channel for years.
yeah,
And he's certainly much more knowledgeable about the industry.
yeah.
Ah,
And
that's
I think that Collect, is that how you pronounce it? The I
yes.
think it's Collect. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that they do pretty good work. So I
They
mean,
do great stuff and they are branching out. They're doing all kinds of different partnerships. You're right. That's a good point, Dan.
uh, flipper channels going under. That was your next point.
Yeah.
Um, is that a thing? I mean, I think flippers are kind of are like very 2022, 23 kind of channels. So maybe their time has come and gone. No?
Well, they're still big. I still get recommended.
Yeah.
Look at the only one I like is Trike. I don't know what the number is after Trike, but he's Trike 4315 sports cards or whatever it is. They're all, going around sports card shows buying up display cases. There's Card Collector 2 also.
Yeah.
There are a lot of them out there. Mojo.
Is Trike the guy that went to Hawaii last year
Yes.
and then he just did a video where he bought a big collection in Nashville?
Yes. That's the one and only. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think he's and he played basketball at
Correct.
Wake
Wake
Forest.
Forest.
Yeah,
Yep.
so good channel.
Yeah.
Not my stuff, but I've watched his stuff.
Exactly. Yes,
Um,
exactly. That's the way
yeah,
exact my feeling about him is he's very humble, he's very honest about his failures. He tries things, he's interesting. I watch, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10% of his videos, the ones that catch my attention, and I enjoy them. Like you said, they're not for me, but I think there are so many of them, and I've seen several of them recently talking about how much more difficult it is to make money doing this, and I think uh, some of them either going to disappear or they're going to get purchased. And we saw
yeah.
the Junk Wax Investor channel get purchased 2 years ago, and they were just repurchased, resold a month or two ago to a new guy. Uh, that's, I think you're going to see more and more of either channels disappearing entirely or getting purchased by other people.
Well, it's the guy like Trike though is his personality is strong, so he's got I think an ability to be entertaining.
Yep.
With a lot of these guys, it was just kind of like the entertainment was the flip, was the money. And
Yes.
so I think when the money goes away, a lot of these other guys go away because they don't have the staying power of a guy who has a personality and is open about what he's doing, is
Exactly.
transparent, and is entertaining. Except I didn't like when he broke down that collection in Nashville and then threw out all the base, literally left it in the garbage pail
Right. Yeah.
in the hotel room.
That's more and more common, though. I
Yeah, yeah,
saw
yeah.
a bunch of people have just signed up for my newsletter recently because I had one back in August, maybe. What do I do with my base commons from the junk wax era? And that got shared somewhere recently because there was a big YouTuber, maybe it was Trike, who was talking about they just dump all their cards. And I've seen it in sports card news, sports card nonsense too. And somewhere somebody shared my newsletter on that because I've gotten dozens of signups just from that newsletter in the past week.
Next is this thing called Mantle,
Mm,
which you talked about, which I then Mantle is Mantel, not like
yeah,
Mickey Mantle.
right.
Which when I saw that, I went to the website. Not the I haven't downloaded the app, but I went to the website and signed up and created an account and got onto it and couldn't figure it out. So like trying to
And
figure out what is Mantle and why did it get mentioned?
yeah, and you asked me if that was a paid sponsorship thing, and it's not. They don't pay me. They are trying to do Twitter, but just in the sports card space without all the various for you. I get a lot of police videos for some reason in Twitter and all kinds of weird stuff that I'm not interested in. I never click on. All I want is sports card stuff. And like snuff films on Twitter. Why are these on here?
Hmm.
And so they're trying to do a mixture of Reddit and old Twitter, and just for the collectible space. I said sports cards, but it's that. And they're
Right.
coming out with groups, and they have talked to me about potentially having my own group where it's a Junk Wax Hero community of my viewers, my subscribers who are interested in talking about the same types of things that I do in videos. I talk about in videos. So I don't know what that looks like yet. But we haven't talked in, I don't know, a month. I think it was beginning of a couple months, beginning of November that we first talked about it and last talked about it. But I like Mantle. I like the concept, and so if they want me to do a group, I'm open to it.
Well, vintage Twitter was a thing for a long time, and then we all left. So
Yeah.
it's kind of, it hasn't really all moved over to Blue Sky. It's somewhere in between, and so that I don't know. Maybe that's something that we could get a vintage group in there and get some people. But we'll see. I mean, it takes it for something to take and to actually become what it wants to be. You know, takes some luck, I think. And so we'll see. We'll see
Yep.
what happens.
Yep.
So that's the roundup of what you talked about with collectors, and I'll get into some stuff later on. But then you talked about like the different companies in the hobby and where they may be going. And the first thing was PSA and its diversification and how they continue to do more, have more ideas. Which I mean, I'm not a big PSA fan. I'm not a PSA fan at all, honestly. But I do respect that they're starting to do new things that with the whole vault and moving your cards into a vault and having them sell it and all that stuff, which takes some initiative. So what do you think about PSA in 2025 and their continued diversity?
Yeah. So if you think about the entire life cycle of a card or a card purchase, you buy it on eBay, not just eBay, of course, but let's say you buy it on eBay, you get it home, you decide, yeah, I want to grade this. So then you send it to PSA, you get it back from PSA, and then you decide to sell it on eBay, and then you have to ship it to your buyer. They have eliminated so many steps from that. And I
Hmm.
think they're going to continue to. Now you buy it on eBay. I don't know why during the authentication process you can't have, if it's raw, have PSA grade it. That should be, and that's got to be coming. It has to be. Uh, and then you have PSA grade it, and then PSA can now list it for you on eBay and sell it for you and ship it for you, which was kind of the model for ComC, which was just ship all your cards to us and we'll mail them, we'll sell them and mail them for you. But now you can do that with PSA and eBay, and it's so easy. And you're right, although I have a lot of PSA slabs, I'm very critical of PSA the company because of all the mistakes they make, the simple stupid mistakes they make. But you have to acknowledge they have done a lot to make things easier for us in terms of buying, selling, grading. At some point the prices have to go up again, and I think they will, and that's not great.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think that the prices would go down as they begin to, streamline the process. It becomes less costly.
Well,
That was
when I say
great.
the prices, I mean you're going to get nickeled and dimed at each stop
Yeah.
along the way. So this is going to be $2 and this is going to be $4 and then the grading is going to be $18. And before you know it, you've spent 35 when before you would have only spent 28. But that's the convenience, the cost for convenience.
Yeah, but the other thing, I mean, I'll never use this service, not because I don't use PSA, but because when I buy a card, for the most part, I'm buying it so that it might end up over here,
Me too.
and I want it in my hand.
Yep.
I'm an old school. I'm an old school collector. That it's about my collection first. And do I sell cards? Of course I sell cards, but I'm not selling a card 5 minutes after I purchase it. I'm not sell. I'm not. To me, just having it go from my hand to PSA and then PSA keeps it until someone else ends up with it. It's a business, and I'm not a businessman when it comes to cards. It's just I'm one of those guys that sells cards to make money to be able to buy more cards for my collection. So
Yep.
it's a little bit. It's not a collector thing. And if you go back to what we talked about before, if flipping is kind of on the way out, is PSA creating a system for a bunch of people who are leaving the hobby? I mean, I don't know.
Or are they making the flipping culture last longer?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. I mean, they're always going to be flippers. The question is, are they going to be fly-by-night flippers? Or are they going to be the kind of people that stick around and that's what they do with their lives? So we'll see.
Well, if you think about Trike, he's got his
Right.
YouTube channel, and he made $3,000 in a month off of YouTube, which is insane. That's unfathomable amount of money to me. And then he was also making $3,000 a month from affiliate
Right.
marketing.
Yeah.
I'm anti-affiliate marketing for myself. It's fine for other people. There's no criticism. But that was eye-opening for me. Like, he's making as much from YouTube as he is from affiliate marketing.
Well, is the YouTube sponsorship money, or is it?
And then, so it was a third. His
Right.
YouTube sponsorship money was another 3,000,
Yeah.
or maybe it was 2,000. Either way, it was significantly more than I'm making from YouTube, and significantly more than I'm making from sponsorships, and I make zero from affiliate marketing. But it's his full-time job too.
It's his full-time job. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if you want it to be a full-time job, you've got to go. You got to go in all in, so to
Yep.
speak. So moving away from PSA to SGC, which I submit to SGC, as people who watch this channel know, I've done, I don't know, 7 SGC reveals on the channel every several months, and the last one was 23 cards.
I have 5 cards with them right now. I'm very excited to get them back.
Oh, good luck.
Thanks.
I feel like I'm concerned that SGC will become less independent, and I think that was one of your themes in your newsletter.
Yeah, I can definitely. So PSA purchased them. The announcement was on Leap Day, Leap Year Day, whatever. February 29th was the announcement. And we're coming up on a year. I think somewhere between 1 and 2 years, probably closer to the 2-year mark, you're going to see some little changes that turn into big changes with SGC. And I still think they'll be relatively independent, but what are the things that are most important to collectors about SGC? It's turnaround time and it's customer service. Those are both expensive.
Well,
And
accuracy too, grading,
sure, yep.
consistency in the grading.
Yeah, well, I don't know that that's going to change. Maybe it will, but customer
I'll show you.
service,
I'll show you a card in a second.
yeah, customer service and turnaround time are very expensive. It requires a lot of people, and people is probably their most expensive expense. And so I can see collectors, the parent company, saying, let's move it to closer to the PSA model. I don't think it's going to happen overnight, but if their turnaround time right now is 3 to 5 business days, maybe it goes to 5 to 7, and then it goes to 7 to 10, and then 10 to 14. And before you know it, a year later, it's 30 to 45.
Yeah, I mean, my last one was consistent with all the other ones, which is for the most part, except for a couple of things where they had cards they didn't know what to do with. Yeah, 5 to 7 to 9 days. It doesn't make a difference to me if I'm sending cards out on December 2nd and getting them back on Christmas Eve. Door to door, 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But I was concerned because this was my first full submission where I felt like there was a good amount of stuff that was problematic in terms of the grades. Like there was some stuff, and I do the Chris Sewell thing where I write down the numbers and all that stuff, just so that I'll have an idea of what I expected. And a lot of my expectations were not good this time around, and I don't know if it was me or them, but I kind of feel like I'm showing this card right here. This is a Buster Clarkson. He was a great pre-integration player who played a little bit in the major leagues, but this is a 1972 Puerto Rican League card that I picked up on eBay for a pretty good price. Shout out to John Mangini for sending me a link to this while it was still active. And I got a 5. And I'm looking at this thing, and it's perfectly centered. The corners are sharp. There's no issues. Back is fine. And I'm wondering, where the hell does this 5 come from? This should be a 7 or an 8. And maybe SGC is starting to become like PSA, where you get these ridiculous numbers on cards that, like, my pre-grade on this was 6 to 7, and that was conservative. So I'm a little concerned that maybe they're going to start doing what PSA is doing with vintage cards and just sort of not really getting what the numbers should be and what have they consistently been. So a little bit concerned about that. And when you brought that up in your newsletter, I thought to myself, "Oh shoot, I didn't curse."
Sure.
That this is potentially going to be a problem, and we'll see. I've got another, my next SGC submission will probably go out in like a month or two after I pick up cards in White Plains, and, maybe a couple of eBay things or whatever. But I only have a handful at this point, but I usually send them out when I get to about 15, 20 cards. But we'll see. I mean, the next one is a test for me. Is it going to be a situation where my numbers are not consistent with theirs anymore? And that's a concern for me.
You're like Ralphie from A Christmas Story when he said, "Oh, fudge."
I will not be eating soap today, and my wife will not be calling up someone else to find out where I learned this really bad word.
Your friend Flick.
Yeah. It's funny. Last night when we were in Cleveland, I was in the big house that they called the frat house in Cleveland, and we all wanted to go to, the Christmas Story house is in Cleveland. It was like 5 miles from where our house was. Maybe even less.
You gotta go.
So I went, and I sent to the text group pictures of the stuff that I bought, including I bought a leg lamp, a Christmas ornament leg lamp, which was out. And my wife handed it to me last night because sadly the tree is now ready to be taken out by me later on today.
Ours is too.
I had to put away the leg lamp and put it back in its box and put it in storage. And I was kind of sad, but I said when my wife was handing it to me, I said, "Be careful, do not break that. I know you're jealous of that."
Fragile.
Fragile. I didn't write Fragile on the box, but I think I'm actually going to do that next year. When I take it out, it'll say Fragile. Anyway, so sorry for that very wide movement away from this discussion. So SGC, they're going to exist. They're going to continue to do what they do. Whether they do it the way we want them to do it or not is another story. But other graders, and you talked about the potential for other graders to either cease to exist or to change their way of doing business.
Yeah, so HGA, which was a semi-popular company, announced, I think in July, that they were no longer taking orders. And their website, as of a week ago, still said they weren't taking new orders, although they had announced that they were coming back. I'm not sure of all the details. And then there was another one, I think it's CGA, that posted a very dramatic Facebook thread, a Facebook post a couple, 3 weeks ago, saying that they're at risk of going out of business and asking people to submit more cards to give them some revenue. And I don't know why somebody would submit cards to a company that's saying they're going out of business, but they did, and they posted that they were back in business and everything was looking great again. But I see that more and more in 2025, and I got one response to that saying there are only like 5 grading companies. There are dozens of grading companies out there. Red Rocket, some people might be aware of Red Rocket. There's Tag. I don't know anything about Tag. I love what they do with their reports.
Right.
There's TGA, which I think is a New Hampshire-based one. There's so many of them, and I think we're going to see more of the HGA, CGA. We're having problems and we're shutting down operations for now type of situations. Or I would love to see Tag get purchased by PSA or SGC or collectors, I guess. Or Becket might take a big swing and say, this is really popular at Tag. Let's buy them and implement some of this technology.
Well, you're getting into the next point is Becket, Becket's survival. And I don't have any expectation that Becket has the foresight to say, oh, yeah, tag is a great concept. They haven't really implemented it to the point where they're making any inroads in the hobby. But like, does Beckett have any concept of that moving forward? Because everything I've seen from them in the last couple of years has just been like head smacking, you know?
Humiliating. Yeah, like secondhand embarrassment with all the things that they have done. It's insane. But a company like Beckett, there's no way Beckett, the name, doesn't exist a year from now, 2 years from now, because it's too valuable a brand. But can they pull themselves out of the ashes of where they are right now? December was another 28% year over year decline in the number of cards graded.
Yeah,
Can they recover from this and make themselves another viable grading company? They just renewed their uh, autograph authenticator, autograph authentication team for
right.
long multi-year agreements. But man, it's just hard to see how they do it. Although they have a $250 million infusion of cash, an investment, which would be a good way to go out and buy a tag. But would they be able to integrate it? I've
Yeah.
worked for companies that have made massive purchases and failed miserably at integrating the uh, company that they purchased.
There's also plenty of companies with legacy name recognition that go out of business. So, I mean, you maybe have more faith in them than I do, but we'll get to that a little bit later on.
I don't have faith in them. I have faith in the name, that the name will survive.
Um, the next thing is just I wrote the word fanatics. I don't, I don't remember what you talked about.
I think I just said that they will continue to make your odds worse of pulling good cards, and they'll continue to increase packs of boxes.
Yeah,
And we're seeing the ramifications of this. People are leaving the modern hobby, moving into singles. I shouldn't say leaving the modern hobby, but leaving the ripping and breaking
yeah,
hobby. They're still getting a lot more new people in, but uh, at some point, there's a breaking point, and Fanatics will find it. And there will be a pullback, hopefully, at that point where they say, okay, we can't keep charging $40 for a blaster box that has 0 numbered
yeah,
cards.
yeah,
We can't keep charging, this is a Panini example, $1,000 for Panini Prism 2024 with no draft class, with a terrible, terrible draft class. And that's Luminaries. Topps Luminaries just came out in the past week or two, and they're charging, I think, $500 a box, which only has 1 card in it. And the singles of these cards are selling for a couple $100 each.
yeah. I mean, what's the point, really? I
Yeah.
mean, what you price people out of the market, you price yourself out of the market ultimately.
Yeah.
So I'm extremely well. I know significantly less about the modern hobby than you do. So, but I'm very cynical about Fanatics and and what they're doing to the hobby and how they're going to continue to do what they're doing to the hobby. And that brings me up to the last point with companies, which is I wrote gambling/breaking, which to me is the same thing, honestly.
Yeah,
I
it
think
is.
breaking is going to be compacting, contracting to the point where there's only a few left in the next couple of years.
Similar to grading companies.
Yeah,
Yeah, there has to be some contraction in the breaking world because there are hundreds, probably thousands of breaking companies out there, and there doesn't need to be.
yeah.
Uh, there's
Well,
so
there's
many of them.
the
There's
dudes in
no
the garages. I mean, a guy in a garage on whatnot is not
right.
going to be something that continues, especially since if the price of the product keeps going up, and the payoffs, the hits start going down,
Yeah.
and breaking has over the years, last few years, there's been a lot of controversy. People stealing cards, people not sending cards, that kind of stuff. I mean, to me, it's just it's a recipe for complete failure, except for the people that are doing it, and have been doing it for a while and are trustworthy. But I don't know how many of them are there.
And I think I made this point in the newsletter. If people are already up in arms over the regulation by the live breaking platforms like the whatnots and the Fanatics lives and places TikTok, Imagine if breakers start struggling more than they already are. We've already seen some
Yeah,
breakers saying, I can't sell it at that price. They're auctioning off uh, break spots, and they are supposed to sell them for $40 and they sell them for 10, and they say, never mind, we're not going to sell it to you for that price. And then the live auction companies, live break platforms don't do anything about it.
yeah.
It's going to get worse.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to get worse to the point where I think the entire breaking industry is in danger of pretty much becoming a thing of the past. So that's the end of our discussion from your newsletter. Which again, congratulations on a really outstanding one.
Thank you.
Hoping for a good one tomorrow.
It'll be a letdown, I promise.
So then I put my predictions for next year. I got 5 of them.
Yeah.
I think 2025 is the year that we're going to be getting the SGC registry.
Yes. I hope you're right.
I mean, I feel like they got the app, and the app is good.
Yep.
And I use the app now more than I use the website. And I think and in the app you can add cards to your own collection, and there's a few things in there. And I think the registry is sort of the next thing coming from that. My next prediction for 2025 is card show consolidation, ownership consolidation. I think we saw this recently when the guys who do the Shriner Show, or one of the groups that does the Shriner Show, bought the White Plains show and the surrounding shows around that, which I believe includes Hofstra. And I think we're going to see more of that.
Yep.
I think as shows begin to become more important again, I think we're going to see more money go into shows, and I think we're going to see consolidation of ownership on shows.
It makes perfect sense. You get more scale as a
Yeah.
business. You can consolidate your operations. So instead of having one company running one show and paying for all the operations, you have one company running 5 shows, and you have cover the operations with the same group of people for all of them.
I also think one of the things about shows that that we underestimate in terms of ownership and bringing people in the door are celebrity guests, autographs, athletes. And I think you're going to get more athletes at shows if you've got more money in the ownership and they can afford to pay the players more to come in. I worked a local show a few months ago, and there was a few people there in the beginning and a few people there in the end. But when the one autograph guest came in, boom, the place got crowded, and we made money for like 2 hours. And then your autograph guest was gone, and everybody else was gone with him. So I think that's a draw that we don't necessarily pay attention to, but I think the companies that run the shows do. Speaking of which, I think Fanatics Fest is going to fold. I don't think there's going to be another Fanatics Fest. Sorry about the problem with the alliteration there, but I think Fanatics Fest is over.
I love alliteration, so bring it on. So Fanatics Fest is back in July, I think.
June in New York.
June. Yeah.
I think it's going to get canceled.
You think it'll be canceled? So the one from the fall was canceled due to the hurricane, and you think that there will be another hurricane this summer that cancels?
There was also there was one in Pittsburgh that got canceled also.
Right.
So they're I don't know. We'll see.
It's outrageously expensive to run that show. They've brought in hundreds of celebrities. Like, what are you doing?
It was a loss leader, and it was a loss leader, and I don't think Fanatics is really a big fan of loss leaders. So, and a big one too, an expensive loss leader.
Loss leaders are smart, but I'm not sure how it was bringing in money for your major business. I don't understand it, so I'm not smart enough.
So I wrote hobby watchdogs, but I have no idea what I'm talking about here. I wrote it down. That's my prediction. But
you think there will be some unofficial regulation of the hobby?
Yeah, I think hobby watchdogness is going to increase because I think as people become more desperate and money becomes more of a problem, that cheating and stealing are going to be more of a problem. I mean, we're seeing it at shows. It's amazing how many times there have been crimes committed at shows that I went to, big shows. I
Hang
think
on.
it's gonna
Are
have to
you
become more
you're
serious.
the common thread to all these thefts?
Oh, I think you're onto something here. Really, and people that I know and have bought from. So
Made
yeah,
significant improvements to your collection in the past year, and we're at every show where there was a major theft.
yeah.
Not really. You weren't at Dallas, right?
I was not at Dallas, but I have bought from Ash many times, and I'm not friends with Ash. I don't think he even knows my name, but I am friends with people who are friends with him. So anyway, and then the final thing is you mentioned on one of your videos about there's a new YouTuber from Maine.
I don't think I ever did. I don't. Oh, there is. My friend John. My friend
Yeah.
John just yeah, you're right. He just
So my
started
prediction is
put out
that
his.
Mike is going to be usurped by the new Maine YouTuber.
I, I will fight him.
It's like, or it's the other way around. It's what the old Mark Twain thing. There was a lawyer in a small town, and he was having trouble, and then another lawyer came in, and they both got rich.
So John, I wish him well. I hope he does get bigger than me. My friend Oliver, I've been trying. He's been on my channel a dozen
I
times.
yes, of course.
And you met him, right, at the Shriner show.
I didn't actually.
He looks just like Larry Bird, so you'd remember. Uh, he quit his job. He's 51. He quit his job pretty suddenly in December, November, and is bored now. He's just like he didn't retire, but he just didn't want to do that job anymore. And I keep telling him, start a YouTube channel. Start a YouTube channel. He's extremely personable, so I
I
could see
agree with
him.
that. I have seen him on your channel. He could do it.
He's so funny, but he's only focused on vintage basketball and really 80s basketball, which is a little too nichey.
Well, there's a guy you probably know. He is Omar.
Yep,
He
retro hoops collectibles.
yeah, that's his theme, right?
Yeah.
So maybe Oliver could come in and be like the Northeast version of that. And do all the.
Yeah,
Is he from? Is he in Maine?
he is.
So now there'd be three Maine YouTubers. So you would be out of it.
Gonna need a battle.
So we got a lightning round coming up.
Let's do it.
So I have 10 things, and the question is, will they still be around on December 31st, 2025?
Okay.
All right. Number one is Cards HQ. Will they still be around on 12/31/25?
Yeah, that would be 2 years after they opened. I definitely think they will be. I wouldn't be surprised if there are some major changes to them. Like part of their model is we sell everything at or below comps, which I don't know is going to be possible to continue. I wouldn't be surprised if they take on a new investor, quiet, silent investor, because I don't think Jeff would want that to happen. But I do think that they'll still be around a year from now.
I predicted that they wouldn't last 2024 because of the math, the numbers, the fact that they didn't have any inventory, and the overhead that but I don't know where the money's coming from. And I would have to say, if I didn't think they were going to make 2024, why would I think they would make 2025? But I think now there's money that we don't know about. There's income from something we don't know about. So I think that the answer to that question is yes, they will survive 2025. Number two is Becket grading, which we talked about before. Will they still be around on 12/31/25?
Yeah, I think they will be. I don't know in what form they'll still be around, but maybe it's just autograph authentication. I don't know.
Uh, okay, so you're going to keep hedging on every one of these.
I'm a
No,
hedger. Yeah.
I think Becket grading will be gone in 2025.
Wow. No,
Yes.
I'm not hedging. They will not be gone.
Okay. Number three, HGA grading. Will they be
Gone.
gone?
Gone. Yeah.
All right, I'm with you. Gone.
Well,
Number four.
and I think just to be clear, I think HGA was well intentioned. I think that they had some unique ideas. I think that they tried really hard. I don't think they failed. I think that uh, just the reality of trying to compete against the big boys.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some of their stuff as gimmicky. The label, the fun, the fun labels, and
It's
you know,
popular. The
I also
horizontal
thought
slabs, yeah.
some of their grading was head slappingly bad.
Yep, and they
Um,
were authenticating fake cards.
yeah,
Yeah,
they would do it, and it was like they were amateurs trying to be pros, and then they did this video about how they were using AI, and
right.
it was just dumb. And then they folded for a little while. They not folded, but they went on like hiatus for a little while, and then
Yep.
the CEO had some like controversy, and then money came in, and it's just, to me, they're a non-entity, but I think they're actually going to be out of business by the end of 2025. So number 4 is Backyard Breaks.
Yeah, I don't know why they're wildly successful, aren't they? Like they're
Yeah,
and people
this I
everybody
have a prediction for this, but go ahead.
so everybody believes the Backyard Breaks is getting loaded boxes. It's in my comments from this morning's video already. They're getting loaded boxes. Um, and so if they're getting loaded boxes, wouldn't everybody flock to Backyard Breaks if you believe that they're getting loaded boxes? And I think that they will be one of the last breaking companies to close because they have that kind of aura about them that they're pulling everything great.
So I had heard that there's a rumor that they aren't getting loaded boxes, but rather that they are scan. They were
CT
the first
scanning.
people to scan boxes.
Yeah.
Um, I think Backyard Breaks is going to go under in 2025 because I think the government will take them down. I think that there's something going on there that's
Wow.
illegal. So that's my prediction for Backyard Breaks.
Wow. I
Number
love it.
5 is Fanatics Fest, which we talked about a time before. We already know my prediction is that it's never going to happen again.
I'm perfectly happy with that prediction. I'll go with it.
Okay. Number 6, will they still be around in 12/31/25? Peter Steinberg as SGC president.
I think it'll be close. I don't think he'll still be there. It'll be close. I think Pete's going to be leaving there at some point in the next year or so. It might not be by the end of this year, but 2026, definitely. I'll be surprised if he's still there much longer after the 2-year anniversary of the purchase, which was, as I said, February 29th, 2024.
I'm a big fan of Peter,
He's
and
amazing.
I think that he is going to get a promotion somewhere along the line in 2025, and that he's not going to be SGC president because he's going to be higher up in collectibles. That's my prediction.
I like it. I think Pete's more of a startup kind of guy. I think I can see him going and being the CEO of another startup in the hobby.
Interesting. Okay, so the other way around.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 7 is Sports Card Radio, which is currently on some sort of hiatus.
Yeah.
But will they still be around on 12/31/25?
So I still follow them on Twitter, and they tweeted at me yesterday that they are back in the business. And I don't know if they ever left, but I know at one point they were buying and flipping NFL parking spots, and so they're doing that again and making a lot of money from it.
Yeah.
So I think that they are in the business of entertaining people and of making money. And sports cards has always been a hobby for them. And they found that they could make a lot of money doing videos on sports card stuff. I think that they're just making more money elsewhere. They're still tweeting about sports cards. They're just not doing anything else. I still think they'll be around, but more in how they are now than they were, say, a year ago.
I mean, that's kind of I agree with that. I think that the Thursday live got kind of old and boring for them, and not particularly productive, since several of them, they were like clearly intoxicated during. And I think that making money and taking time away and being able to not have this weekly thing hanging over your head is um, I think that's going to cause them to do, like you said, to sort of change the way that they approach things. But I don't think they're going to be as hateful in the future. I think a lot of the attacking of people is kind of over because, there's not much more of that. And other people have moved into that space. But so I think you've actually enunciated the way that I think it's going to happen. Number 8 is the $12.6 million Mantle card, which is
Gone.
S59.5, as the most expensive card.
It'll be gone. I think there will be a bigger sale, something that will blow people away. I think with the SGC5 Wagner would be fun to see come up for sale. PSA 10 Mantle, something big is going to come up that's going to go for 20 million plus.
I totally agree with that. I think we're going to see another. I think the 12.6 Mantle card survived all of 24 as the highest graded card. I think
Yep.
maybe even 23, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah,
22?
I think that was around the national of 22.
Yeah, so it's been like, yeah, it survived 23 and 24 as the most expensive card. But I think, yeah, I think as things change economically, somebody's going to come out and have a card that exceeds that, despite the reduction overall in card prices. Number 9, Kurt's Card Care. Will Kurt's Card Care survive, and will they still be around on 12/31/25?
I don't think so. I think it was a good idea. I think that he was trying to fill a hole in the market, and it worked. But there's just, I think, Collect just published a story. Actually, I still have it open here. Restorers versus graders. How will $10 million verdict impact the hobby? And this is about CGC and comic book restoration. I think that you're going to find that where he's butting heads with PSA, there's no way Kurt Cologne, or however you pronounce his last name, can beat PSA or collectors in a lawsuit.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, what started out probably as some nice little bit of pocket change, I think, became more of a hassle that anybody would want to deal with. And I think that as cards continue to get deregistered as a result of being caught, that it's gonna and the grading companies are going to get better at just picking up on it. So I
Yep.
agree with you. I think Kurt's not going to make it to the end of 25. And number 10 and last is Panini. Will Panini still be making baseball cards or any sports cards by the end of 12/31/25?
I am going to say, boy, that's a tough one. I'm going to say yes, they're still making them, but they're seen as like the cheap. They're already seen as the cheap, gross alternative with terrible gimmicks. I think the Panini is going to pivot to non-sports, like kind of like what Leaf has done.
Yeah.
And I think by the end of this year, you'll still see some sports cards from Panini, but it'll be few and far between.
Do they have any licenses left?
WWE, maybe? Soccer? Or no, Topps has soccer, right?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I don't know.
So anyway, my prediction is pretty much the same. That they're gonna get out of they're gonna slowly get out of the business, but probably not by the end of 25. So that's it. Viewers, comments below. Tell us what you think. A lot of information thrown back and forth in this 53-minute video. I told you I would keep you under an hour, Mike, and I was truthful. Not like my live on right before New Year's. It went for 2 hours. Oh, I was going to show another card since I promised to show some cards. This is my latest pickup. My last pickup
Carl
of
Hubble.
2024 is a 1933 Wirch cigar Carl Hubble. This is the photograph that is used as the model for his 33 Goudy. And 33 Wirch cigar is a rare. I got this from Howard Glasser, who is a regular dealer, but actually has his own group on Facebook where he offers some really cool cards. So shout out to Howie, and also shout out to John Mangini, who got a Wirch card and showed it off. And I had already known about them in existence, but John made me want to get one. So now I have the Hubble Wirch card. That's my last card of 2024. I have purchased a couple of cards in 25, one of which hasn't arrived yet, and the other one that I'm going to pick up from one of our mutual friends up in the White Plains show in a couple of weeks. Going to buy it cash in hand, pick it up in person instead of mailing it. So Anyway, Mike, thank you for coming on and spreading your wisdom. And I hope you survive the rush of new Maine YouTubers.
Thank you.
Because it's gonna be the dog eat dog world up there in Maine.
Thanks for having me on, Dan. This was fun.
Yes, a lot of fun. So viewers, next week I'm working on another show next week, but it may just be me next week. And then I got the White Plains show in 2 weeks, and then I have another cool show with another guest who you will know on the 20. I think it's like the 23rd or 22nd. I don't know. The dates are all screwed up in my head still. But so lots of things happening. We got over 1,000 subscribers. Oh, I forgot to talk about that. I had put in a request on this channel and on other places that I get to 1,000 by the end of the year. I didn't get by the end of the year, but I got it on January 1st. I woke up.
Failure. Complete failure.
New Year's Day to over 1,000 subscribers. I want to thank you, Mike, for I know you posted about it, and I think I got 1 subscriber out of that.
Oh, man. Anytime I want to just be humbled, I'll just come on these live streams with you and Theo.
And then Greg posted about it, and I think I got 50 out of that. So.
Yeah. All he did was share mine. Poorly, I might add.
Midlife Nation. It's a thing. It's a cool thing. I love Midlife Nation, actually, and we're both good friends of Greg's, so he's doing a great job on his channel, and I know he just made so much money on YouTube that he got to go to Hawaii. So,
I can assure people we don't make that much money on YouTube.
Well, I'm about to find out. I'm going to check on the board right now and see if my first million has come in. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, viewers, thank you. We'll see you next week. Mike, thank you so much for coming on, and have a good day and have a good weekend.